wigging out customers, wigging out bosses. What does it get them? Nothing. Really nothing. Hey everyone, how's it going? So you're riding with Kenny. What made me think about this, customers and bosses that wig out, that absolutely have a freak out over things when they go wrong or whatever. I could never understand the point of it. You've all seen the videos of, customers somewhere. Could it be a restaurant, a repair shop, wherever, it doesn't matter. And people are freaking out, like in McDonald's or whatever, and they're like throwing stuff and freaking out because an order was wrong. It's like, where does that get you? I mean, seriously, where does that get you? And what's with this mentality? I understand there's some people out there that that's just their nature to be like in a fight mode, and for whatever reason, I don't know. Like me, I've always been that calm, cool, collected person. It takes a lot to get me to freak out mode. I rarely get there. It's not good when I get there, but it's super rare. Let's start with bosses. Most of the people I've ever worked for have always been pretty cool. Okay, there was a period of time there when I was at the dealer where I did leave the dealer for a short period of time to help out a buddy of mine who had a shop in town. I wouldn't call him a buddy of mine. I helped him out here and there with different things at his shop. I would moonlight there, stuff like that. So, excuse me. He lost his technician, and I knew he was a hothead. Not the technician, the guy who owns the shop. I knew he was a hothead. I'd known him for years, and I usually didn't have a problem with him. So I took a leave of absence from the dealership for about 6 months. I went over and I helped him out at his shop. He paid me extremely well to be there, so that's kind of why I did it. And but I knew he was a hothead. Like, he was the type of guy that would get up and like start screaming at people. And he usually didn't do that with me. But I'll never forget, it was a body shop, a repair shop, and a towing company. So one day, the repair shop and the body shop shared an area. Okay, there was actually 6 lifts. 2 of the lifts were mostly body, and the other 4 lifts in there were mostly mechanical. One of the lifts for the body was an actual frame machine. So one of the guys from the body shop, he was done with whatever he had to do on this car that was on the frame machine. So he needed to push it outside. It wasn't a running, driving car. Whatever it was, I don't recall. So he said to me, that guy in the body shop, he was the body shop foreman, I guess, shop foreman for the body shop section. I was technically the shop foreman of the mechanical section. So the body shop foreman says, hey, can you get one of your guys and help me push this thing outside into a spot? Yeah, sure. Okay. Now, we had cameras set up in that shop, and the owner, he was constantly watching the cameras. It's like, do you not do anything other than watch the cameras? Like, really? So he was constantly watching the cameras. So sure enough, I go and I grab the first person I see who happened to be the other mechanic there. And the 3 of us, we push this car outside and we push it into a parking spot. Okay, no big deal. Done. It probably took 90 seconds, maybe. No big deal. Now, we had helpers at that shop too, that would like clean up and just do little mundane things, mundane tasks. And we had a wash bay guy, stuff like that. We had tow drivers. But the other mechanic and myself and the body shop manager or foreman, we were the 3 people that were like right there. So we push it out, we go to get started on whatever else we were going to do. And all of a sudden, here comes the owner. And I don't think too much of it. And I see him walk into the office. Now, the way the repair shop was set up, we had an office to the back side that we could see into. There was like a big bay window, like 2 of them. So you could see inside. You could see the body shop manager and you could see the shop manager. So I could see the owner walk in there, and he tells the 2 of them, the body shop manager and the shop manager, to get out. Okay? So then all of a sudden he opens up the door that leads into the shop, and he says, hey, Wessel, come here for a second. So I'm like, okay. So I go walking in. He's like, close the door. I close the door, and then he starts freaking out. I mean, flipping out. He is screaming at me. I mean, screaming, like the veins are popping out of his neck, the veins in his forehead. He is absolutely freaking out. And I'm just standing there and I'm looking at him. And he's going on and on and on, just screaming and screaming and screaming. And I wait till he comes to a pause. And he kind of pauses for a second and he looks at me. And I go, do me a favor. When you calm down and you can talk like a normal person, you come get me. And I walked out. He actually picked up one of the computer monitors and threw it across the room. And he's like screaming in there at nobody. He's screaming. He's throwing stuff. He's throwing parts. And I'm just out there and I was doing whatever I had to do. So finally, he calms down. He opens up the door. He says, Wessel, could you come in here, please? I said, sure. So I open up the door. I walk in. I close the door. I said, are you calm now? He goes, yes. It's like, okay, what's going on? So he says, you grabbed Nick and you grabbed Joe to push that car out. I said, no. I said, Joe grabbed me and I grabbed Nick. And we pushed that car out. He goes, the 3 highest paid people I have here pushed that car out. He goes, you could have grabbed one of the wash bay guys. He goes, you could have grabbed the tow truck driver. You know, you could have grabbed one of the kids. I said, you're right. I could have done that. I said, I could have walked around this building looking for people. I said, and wasted 15 minutes trying to find people and make them stop what they were doing to come inside to help us push this car out. I said, or I could have grabbed Nick, who was right there, and myself and Joe, and we pushed it out in less than 90 seconds and got the job done. I said, yeah. I said, so next time what I'll do is I'll drop what I'm doing and I'll make sure I walk around and try to find somebody else to help instead of just doing it and getting it over and done with. Well, that's not what I mean. I go, that's exactly what you just said. I said, so either you let me do it my way, I said, or I'll do it your way. Whatever you prefer. If you think it's a waste of time for me to spend 90 seconds with Nick and Joe to push a car out, if you think that's more worthwhile, or if you don't think that's worthwhile and it's more worthwhile for me to go walking around to find Mike or Nelson or anybody else to push this car out, we'll do that. And we can tie up the shop for a good 15, 20 more minutes. But that's completely up to you. So he obviously thought about it and he agreed with me eventually. But it was just funny because he destroyed a computer monitor, he threw parts around, and then they had to clean up the office because he had gone into such a rage. The mechanic that was there before me, I knew him too. Didn't care too much for him. He was also the type of person that if you yelled at him, he would yell back. I'm the type of person, you yell at me, I'm just going to stare at you. Like, it means nothing to me. So, and I guess the two of them used to have like screaming matches at one another. I mean, they would be nose to nose. Like you thought it would go to blows, but it never did. But they would absolutely scream at each other over nonsense, over absolute nonsense. And it's like, where does that get you? Where do you actually wind up? I don't know. I don't see any benefit to it. I've had customers like that in the past. And, I fired customers for that. I wait till they calm down and say, okay, are you done? Okay. Well, okay, this is what we're going to do now. You can bring your car elsewhere. Here's your money back for anything I've done, and I've done that before. Like if I did a repair, it's a couple $100 or whatever, and they freak out because for whatever reason, and it could be anything. Could I have made a mistake? Sure. Could I have done something wrong? Sure. I can't think of a for instance at the moment, but I'm going to give you an example of what made me think of all of this today. We had a Ford F-150, a 2022, get towed in today. And what happened was, he was on a trip, and the left front caliper fell off. Now, it's a Black Widow edition, no less. A 2022 Black Widow edition. That's like the trucks get sent out to this company, and they do the Black Widow upgrade. And it's rims, tires, a lift kit, suspension modifications, obviously, for the lift kit. They do like deluxe interior upgrade. They do a cluster upgrade. I think they might do like a performance upgrade in terms of like a computer programming, stuff like that. It's, you know, they're nice trucks. They're nicely done. It's not like somebody did it in their backyard. They're nicely done. So anyway, this guy's got this really nice truck, and the left front caliper fell off while he was traveling. So he's like 4 hours from home, and he's like 2 hours away from where he has to be. So we get it towed in, and it turns out another shop had just done the brakes. Obviously, they forgot to tighten up the caliper bolts. Excuse me. This guy was stuck in our office all day long today. And he was on the phone with the other shop, and he was calm, cool, and collected the whole time. And we even said to him, or actually one of the guys said to him, I tell you what, I would have lost my mind had that happened to me, you know, one of my vehicles. And he said, why? He goes, what's it going to change? It's not going to change anything. He goes, it's not going to help my end out. It's not going to help me, you know, get through my day. He goes, it is what it is. He goes, why let something like that get to you? He goes, they're going to cover everything. He goes, they're paying for the tow. Oh, and we can't get the parts right away. We won't see them till tomorrow. So, because it actually blew the caliper out. So we're not going to see the parts until tomorrow. So the other shop, he was calm, cool, and collected. They're paying for the tow bill. They're paying for his hotel. They're paying for his meals, no less. So the other shop is standing behind what they did. You know, obviously, you know, mistakes happen. What are you going to do? Mistakes happen. Things happen. Nobody's infallible. Absolutely nobody's infallible. So if you think you're infallible, you're not. Trust me. I know I make mistakes, and I own them when I do. It's happened to me plenty of times. You know, I make mistakes on my own stuff too. But that's just it. If I do something wrong, if I mess up something, you know, unknowingly, whatever, you know, well, I don't knowingly mess them up, but you know what I'm saying? Like if I do something and I let the car go and something turned out to be screwed up and I didn't realize it at the time, you know, I make good on it. But if a customer is going to come at me with like a major attitude over something, you know, then I'm going to have a problem. Now, this guy had every right to have an attitude. He really did. And I would, if I was the person that did the work, I could absolutely understand him if he came at me all bent out of shape and mad and yelling and everything else. I could completely understand that, especially for this scenario, because he lost his brakes too, because, you know, it blew the caliper out. So would he have been justified in yelling and screaming? I would say yes, but there again, what would he have gained by getting himself all bent out of shape? And that was his mentality. And I love people like that. It's like, to me, you know, the old saying is you get more flies with sugar, or bees with sugar, or honey, whatever the heck the saying is. I think you get more flies with honey. But that's just it. It's like if you're bitter and nasty and stuff like that, people don't want to help you. Especially when you're in retail, especially if it's something minor. When it's something especially minor, why? You follow what I'm saying? So this guy had every justification to be bent out of shape, and he wasn't. He was absolutely so cool, calm, and collected. We gave him a ride to a restaurant so he could get himself something to eat, and then we gave him a ride to a hotel. So, you know, he got his stuff out of his truck. He was going on a hunting trip, no less. So, you know, he lost a day of hunting. So hopefully we get his parts first thing in the morning. The guy's like so cool. And, you know, those are the people you want to help. But there again, like I said, he had every single right to be bent out of shape and to be really upset. And he was absolutely cool about it. So, you know, kudos to that gentleman. I mean, really. But there's a time and a place for everything. And I find, you know, like I said, I usually don't get twisted or bent. It takes a lot for me to get to that point. All right. Well, I just thought I'd share that with you. I thought that was just a good, interesting talking point. If you're getting something out of my videos, hit that like button. If you could, please subscribe. If you want to hear me talking about something, you know, a talking point, something, I don't know, anything, just hit me up, you know, email me or whatever. And yes, some of you guys had emailed me in regards to a website. I've had a lot of stuff going on at home. I am looking at all of them, and I will be contacting some of you very shortly. Anyway, that's about it. All right, guys, have a great day and keep wrenching.